Our next speaker has been active in regulatory and standards design with industry organizations including SMPTE throughout his career, with particular interests in accessibility and live production interoperability. Presenting Breaking Language Barriers, Revolutionizing Global Broadcasts with AI-Powered Multilingual Audio, please welcome Chief Technology Officer for AI Media, Bill McLaughlin.
How are we doing? Great. Hi, thank you. Welcome. Glad to be here. Today's talk, we're going to talk about doing live translated dubbing with AI on live content like sports and news. So we're looking to take a very low latency version of the translation and speak it out with a synthetic voice and basically provide you with an ability to take a real-time event and make it accessible to audiences across the world in all types of languages. So we'll talk about what results we've been able to achieve in this space so far, some of the challenges that are still to come in the field, and the commercial solution that we're bringing out this year. So, why do we look to do this in the first place? Obviously, major film releases, major sports events like the Olympics are already going around the world in, dozens, if not 100 or more different languages. Very few pieces of live content are really reaching that level of audience. And, that can be because doing that for live content requires a lot of specialized skills. You need to do it without delay. And it's, even compared to the massive budgets that are used to take something like a popular movie and cast voice actors and do dubbing, at least it's well known that it's possible to do this well. In a live environment, you can have a lot more questions about how you're even going to approach the problem. In a session like whether it's an industry trade show or, something like a diplomatic conference, the United Nations, you might use live interpreters, but the live interpreters often need to, wait for pauses to speak if there's going to be a back and forth dialogue. In something like a sports match, you would likely set up an entirely separate commentary booth, and you would use the commentators, and they would deliver their own commentary in a different language that wouldn't be a direct translation of the first language commentary. If you have a baseball game and you have an English booth and you have a Spanish booth, they may really have a very separate conversation. The Spanish booth people aren't listening to the English booth, right, and doing an interpretation. They're actually delivering a completely original stream of commentary. And, that will have possible advantages, like their commentary might be more understandable to people in the countries and the cultures that they're reaching out to, because they're not trying to directly translate an American English metaphor or experience. They're talking about what matters to their audience. But it also means you need to bring in commentators who know the game very well and who know how to speak about the game to the audience in their language. And it's obviously a lot of expenses and is only generally done for the highest profile events into the language where there's the most demand for them. So we want to try to do this with AI, and we're going to do it in the production workflow. So, if you know AI Media, our company provides closed caption encoders for live content to a really wide variety of news and sports live broadcasters around the world. And we're going to try to take those same encoders and that same production design and be able to add additional audio tracks which have the AI-created dubbing data. So we have just to get you excited about this, we have a sample video that we'll show in a moment. This shows a couple of plays from an NFL game and shows how the AI technology using basically transcription that's automatic, translation that's automatic, and then a synthetic voice model actually speaking out the data in real time can be used to create the correct experience across about 4 different sample languages. So if the clip's about a minute long, and we'll let it play. There's no audio on the clip. There are some really beautiful translated subtitles down there, so that's a nice start, but this is an audio demo, so I'm hoping they'll be able to help us. All right. Well, the video's looped. If you're not gonna be able to get that, I guess we'll move on. We do have a booth over right on the hallway there. So I mean, if you're interested in seeing the clip with audio, which you should be, since this is a presentation about generating an audio track, please come to the booth and come see it after the show, and we'll be able to do some demonstrations on our laptops. It sounds really good. I mean, let me just, you should trust me that if you were seeing it, you would actually be completely amazed. Okay. So, what kinds of challenges do we see while we're doing this, other than lack of presence of the audio track? I mean, basically we'll see, we do translated subtitles for a lot of customers in text and have been doing that for a long time. You could see that even in the demo video that managed to work, showing you the true power of text-based subtitles. But, when you do translation from live, you actually will deal with challenges involving that go beyond what you do with just speech to text. Because on speech to text, you can do that with fairly low latency for a live performance because it's more or less word by word. You can get better accuracy by doing a slightly longer phrase than that, but mostly it's word for word. With translation, that's generally not the case, especially, some languages more extremely than others, they have totally different word ordering in a sentence. So typically you'll need to have kind of a full sentence, phrase, or thought being expressed verbally in the first language before you're able to move to a translation into a second language. And so what that's going to lead to, among other things, is that's going to lead to delay. So you're going to have to hear a sentence before you produce the voice translation of the sentence. And by the time your delay has, you've had the sentence voiced, you're probably running something like 6, 8, even 10 seconds off of the original program. So one of the things that's very important in production is to look at how you're going to handle the added delay, and is there going to be a matching delay applied to the video, and will that be done for all languages or only for a separate, video input that's being used for the translated languages? Another option would potentially be that you would use it the way people typically do live subtitles, which is to let them fall a little bit behind the media. But, probably for most experiences, I would recommend, using a delay matching strategy. That can also help a lot as you go through, the backing tracks, because what we'll want to do with the audio is either duck the original language, including the original announcers, behind the audio track, or to be able to use, we're currently working on technologies that are able to pretty effectively scrub the original backing track, even from a mixed audio, and then relay the synthetic voice translation over the original backing. And to get a good result on that, so that you hear the crowd cheer kind of at the appropriate time in the narrative, it's important to make sure that we're managing delay matching. So, we'll do that through a combination of frameworks involving understanding the basic translation delay of these features, the basic delay of the synthetic voice, and making sure that they have a consistent timestamp throughout the process. Oh, I don't know. Okay. So, another interesting thing with voices is when we're going to do the real-time voice translation, how do we want it to be voiced? And when you hear the clip later, you'll hear that we've chosen, a kind of sports-related, somewhat excited, but, more or less, it's not really an identifiable voice. It's chosen from libraries that, various providers will give you that, are licensed and cleared, and you could use this for pretty much any content, with the various providers, like 11 Labs, for example, or Google provide big libraries of voices. There also can be interest in doing voice cloning, where you would actually use the voice of talent that you already have in the first language and try to translate that. Now, in a lot of cases, that can have legal or contractual concerns with the talent involved. Is that going to be an approved use? How is that managed? So at this point, with most of the broadcasters that we're working with, we would recommend using pretty much a stock voice that's appropriate for the content and language. But there are a lot of really interesting research going on into cloning of the voices, either based on a voice that you have training for in advance, or even based on what's called zero-shot cloning, where you would be able to take certain characteristics of the voices in real time and immediately apply them to synthetic speech in another language. So on the production side of how this works, it would typically, we're installing it in our closed caption encoders. So it will work in something like SDI video, MPEG transport, RTMP, 2110, and basically these devices are already in the production chain for many broadcasters, and the current functionality consists mostly of taking an audio stream in, a video in most of these formats, and putting out the same thing with a new source of ancillary data, which would be the subtitles in one or multiple languages. In this case, the products also have been extended to put in an additional audio track, and that audio track will be something like an additional embedded track in SDI, or an additional 211030 multicast, an additional PID and a transport stream. And at that point, we might be able to have a sound demo. We can have a sound demo. So production-wise, this is intended to slot in a really easy place, where you would actually just, any place that you're then distributing to, either if you're doing something like an ATSC broadcast, you could put this in a secondary language audio program. If you're doing it in a streaming solution, you probably have an opportunity to do a lot more different audio tracks. But so let's try to replay the video now.
She's created that mystique and aura. Purdy might not even know how big it is.
They fake it to McCaffrey. On the rollout, he has got his man. It's News Tech with a hurdle out near the 50. Purdy, given time. Across the middle, he's got McCaffrey for another first down.
He's going to come after him today at some point, Jim.
Just outside the 40.
Más adelante ellas van. Y hay espacio para McCaffrey. Regrese para otro primer intento. Se llevó a Mike Edwards con él. McCaffrey lo tocó en 3 de las primeras 4 jugadas. Todo por un buen metraje. Creo que volvemos a él otra vez. La pelota está en el suelo. La pelota está fuera. Karliftis está ahí para Kansas City. La primera señal es una recuperación del jefe. Bueno, definitivamente la pelota está fuera.
Karlaftis l'invente. Ancien 49er. En voici un 3e et 12. Mahomes se tient debout et trouve McKinnon. Et il va encore se faire marteler par Greenlaw et Fred Warner. Gardez-le à environ 4 mètres des bâtons. Plus grand dans les plus grands moments depuis lui, Brady et tout le monde. 4-0 au Super Bowl. 3 fois MVP, alors que Purdy traverse le milieu. Ayuk plaqué par Red à environ la ligne des 42 verges.
2. und 17. Gejagt werden. Pflegt die Füßchen. Flagge unten. Erwischt. Kittle. First down je nach Flagge. Halten. Straftat Nummer 71. 10-Yard-Strafe. 2. Abstieg wiederholen. Trent Williams, der All-Pro Left Tackle, wurde also markiert. Es befindet sich genau dort auf der linken Seite Ihres Bildschirms. Der Laderaum, richtig.
Ecco un terzo e 20. Vai sotto con Divo. Può dividersi attraverso i contrasti con i migliori di loro. E guarda tutti i cappelli rossi intorno a lui. Pacheco cerca di ottenere una buona partenza e ci riesce. Ha un primo down. Il palo. Al primo down. Guai e licenziamento. È Chase Young che lo ha preso per primo. E ha già un paio di grandi contratti. Li ha fermati al terzo down l'ultima volta che ce l'hanno fatta. Ecco un terzo e 15.
On the run. And he tucks it under as Gregory was coming from behind and looking for the strip.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, AV team. Love it. So, we're going to close. I think we're in the pretty early days of this type of technology. There's some, customers starting to experiment with this. It isn't like widely on commercial programming yet. I think my perspective in AI media is around where this is going comes a lot from our experience with live AI captions for same language programming, where, we saw about, I think in about 2016, we launched for the first time a product that did real-time automatic captions with AI in English. And, at the time, this was something that was really very cutting edge compared to doing the work with human transcribers. And the quality wasn't always what was really needed for a prime time premium programming. The curve on that has changed very, very quickly to the point where in the last year or two, it's become a bit of a John Henry situation where even very good human real-time writers really have trouble matching up against what's possible with the modern AI engines and LLMs. So we've gone in a relatively short space of 7 or 8 years from a place where these technologies were, kind of pushing the envelope, were being used mostly because they were low cost and not because they were high quality, to something where the AI solutions for most content actually offer a higher quality, including the captions that we've been seeing on screen at these events through the day. I felt and have heard from others that people will kind of say, wow, the automatic captioning understands some of these speakers on some of these topics better than I do a lot of the time. And I would kind of expect that in 2030, we would probably be looking at some of these translation and voice applications in a lot the same way, that this is not just a way to save costs delivering a product that's maybe not quite as good as what's possible with a human, but enabling us to do things that we really would never be able to do, even with very skilled humans working in the field. So I think this is coming on. It's going to be done in a lot of different ways. But we're pretty excited that the Lexi solution is something that is, coming on the back of equipment that's already installed with a lot of broadcasters and a very good production workflow, to make this a reality and ultimately to help content owners, bring their sports, bring their news, to more audiences around the world and, make more of the same material and please the fans everywhere. So thank you.